Hello and welcome to IT Security Labs. I'm very excited tonight to have you and join me on my weekly live stream. So thank you for being here and I'm very excited. One of the things that we all hear is that SQL injections are very prevalent out there. You see and hear about them on the OWASP top 10 every year. And what are they and how do we actually do a SQL injection attack? And the most important thing is, or how do we go about detecting SQL injection attacks? So if you are interested in those things and want to learn hands-on, this is a live stream that you should actually definitely watch until the end. And today we have a machine from VownHub. It's called M87, I believe, and it's a Linux machine. So the first step that we're going to do right now is we're going to enumerate that machine, identify the services that are running. Then after that, we'll find that there's a web server. We'll do some SQL injections, identify other vulnerabilities, then do some privilege escalation. But most importantly for me and you is, well, what happens? Can we actually detect that? We're in luck. We have a security onion intrusion detection system. This is what you probably see when you go to work and things like that. And they say, hey, can you go and investigate what's happening in our environment? Well, today I'm going to show you how we're going to be triggering these events and also how you can actually set it up yourself and which rules are going to be firing. All right. If you are brand new here, my name is Howard and I've been doing this for a couple of years, maybe 3 years now on YouTube. I've been learning a lot, so I'm happy that you are deciding to join me on this journey. I do hold a few certifications in cybersecurity and you'll probably see them on this channel as well. I have some videos that show you how to get like the OSCP, CISSP, and even the CAH. I actually shared my journey here a couple years ago with people on how I did this. And my main goal here is for us to learn cybersecurity hands-on, no BS, make sure that, we practice these skills and we show up to work feeling confident and actually having learned something on our own instead of just trusting that employers would actually teach us what we need. Because the truth is, they won't. You need to take your education in your own hands, and that's why these labs exist. So our machine is set up here in the sense that we have a layer 3 switch that's going to be mirroring all of the traffic from our attack machine, in this case, Kali machine. Kali is going to be attacking a machine that's sitting on this Windows 10 domain client here. So we get a copy of all the attack traffic coming here. There's no encryption here, so we should be able to see everything. I also have a host-based intrusion detection system, Wazuh, running on the client. In this case, it's a Linux client running in VirtualBox instead of Windows 10. So nested virtualization here. But that client is also sending Wazuh logs to Security Onion. So this is what it looks like. I made a nice little diagram here so that it's easier for us to see. So imagine we have a client that's running an Apache web server, right? We actually told that client, and I'll show you how, to send all the Apache logs to our intrusion detection system. In this case, it's going to be using the Wazuh agent host intrusion detection, which is part of Security Onion. So that's how we are able to actually do some SQL injections and be able to see that something funny is happening here. So it's going to be interesting to see how these logs look. But for starters, let's go ahead and sign into our Kali Linux machine. And we're going to start with the very first step here. Our machine is called M87, and we start with an nmap, -sv, -sc. I want to do all ports on 192.168.38. 177 is my IP address. So since I'm doing all ports here, what you're going to notice is I'm actually going to need to ask this thing to give me some real-time logs by saying, give me verbose, VV. SV is going to give us service versions, and SC is going to use some default scripts. So let's see what we find here. All right, our nmap is going. You'll notice that it discovered port 80 right away. So we actually have something here to work with. So, hey, Betty, Jupiter and Roy, it's good to see you. This is awesome stuff. I'm always excited to start. All right, so since we're on 177, what we can do is, we also found port 9090. So you would not have found this port if we didn't have this P. This is for TCP ports only. So let's go and visit port 80. Okay, so if we put it in our browser, All right, we get some generic site here. So the first thing that I like to do is if I see username and password here, this time it's actually asking for an email. So you can try, see if it actually test 1 through 3, see the behavior, just in case this thing tells us that the username is incorrect or something. But right now, this thing doesn't even talk. So let's view the page source. I'm trying to see right now, what are we using to run this site? Can you tell me maybe it's a WordPress, whatever platform? And this time we are not getting any information from the page source. So what I can do next is maybe let me try some SQL injection payloads. I'm not hopeful, but I always give it one go in the username and password. I don't even see anything, even with a SQL payload. So I usually try a couple, but this time it's a no-go. All right, then next, let's go and call GoBuster. GoBuster tends to do a better job with the medium to text. So right now we're just enumerating a web page. We're saying, hey, what do you have for me? We're starting with page port 80, then we'll go to 9090 very soon. 92.168.38.177. All right, right away, GoBuster said we found a /admin and an asset. Okay, let's go to /admin. It's thinking about it. So right now we're just testing out things. Oh, by the way, we just did a SQL injection test here. Did we see anything in our intrusion detection system? Let's close this. Looking in the last 10 minutes, we just tried a SQL injection. All right, this is Nmap logs here. So we're going to ignore those today. These 430 here, I bet you they're coming from GoBuster. Yeah, this is actually GoBuster. Let's drill down here. They're being seen by the OSEC agent, meaning the host-based intrusion detection system is actually seeing that. So let's check out what we are going to be seeing in our intrusion detection system here. Wow, we are actually brute forcing a lot of directories here. That's why Security Onion is not happy. All right, so for the admin, we also see another page here. This one is a funny looking page. It's a login page, but let's view the page source. All right, while the page source is loading, let's see. Okay, yeah, this is definitely GoBuster from our machine. So since we are brute forcing, it's slowing down my virtual machine. All right, let me stop GoBuster here. Page source is nothing as well. So let's go and stop GoBuster. It's only at 10%, but we found /admin. Let's go with that path. The next logical thing is we brute force /admin's subdirectory. All right, so /admin, now we have a backup. We always like backups because people put fun stuff in the backup. I'll stop this. I'm not going to try this page here because I don't think it will lead me anywhere. But look what happens here. So it says /admin question mark username is equals to, we can also check for local file inclusion here. But for now, let's go to the backup location, because we like backups. Another login page. There's a lot of these. Okay, this one looks a little outdated. So I'll test this payload as well. It's a SQL payload, because I don't have a username and password. We get the same kind of error here. If you look in our URL, this actually looks like we can do some includes here, but I'm interested in also seeing if my security onion is seeing what I'm doing right now. So if I can force it without crashing it, I would like to check that. Okay, so next, let's mess with this for a second. We can use tools like wfiles here to mess with it, and but since we see that we have a question mark here, we can try the obvious things, like ID equals to 1. Okay, this is interesting. I just said ID equals to 1 and I saw Jack. So it looks like I'm actually talking to this thing. I just guessed that. I didn't practice that. Okay, so ID equals to 2. Are you going to tell me something then? CEO, I have no idea what this is, but it looks like I'm talking to the database. So I guess the parameter ID is injectable. Are these people? ID equals to 4 is now expenses. Or let's see. Maybe these are accounts. There's an account called expense. So maybe I'm talking to the database here. Okay, yeah. So this is actually injectable. As you can see, it says unknown column pass WD in where clause. So this is part of a select command. This is an indicator that I'm actually I can inject things here. But that's how we identify that this is injectable. In addition to, putting parameters here, we can also just mess with it. I use ID. There's a payload all things list. We can say file. In this case, I'm just going to go to the one like this one. File is equals to etc password. I just happen to have it in my memory. You can brute force using wfiles and change this parameter here with ID, file, page, and so forth until you get one. But for now, it looks like we have two things. We can see some users. When you get a list of users from a site like this is like the easiest, low-hanging fruit kind of type of attack. We're only interested in users with a user ID of greater than 1,000, and maybe root. In this case, you see root has been bashed, but root user ID doesn't need us anyway. I want a real user, not a system account. Like www.data has no login, so this is not going to help me much unless if I can backdoor this application. I'm looking for a real user, a name that looks like a real user with bin bash login. I guess I could have searched for bin bash. This one. So we see we have a user called Charlotte. And we have another one here. I'm just looking for bin bash, and nope, that's one user on the entire system. That's how we can make use of this file here. So I'm just going to come back here, just create some notes here quick. So we say this is a valid user. All right, so we found a valid user. Is this user part of the site, of the website? Remember, we also had ID equals to. I don't think I saw this user. I don't want to do it by hand, so I'm going to call in SQL map, because I know that this is actually calling for users here. So I'm going to use SQL map here quick. Okay. So we'll copy that. Let's use SQL map here to automate this process. And I'm not going to use Burp Suite today, because Burp Suite is usually used to generate a list. In this case, let's say SQL map. I usually have a file, but I don't want to use the file today. So let's go and just run a direct SQL map command here. Hey, Royal or Matthew, it's good to see you, everybody. Thank you for joining today. Okay, SQL map minus u, HTTP. Why would I do that when I can just copy the URL here? So we're going to go with the URL instead of the classic SQL map that usually shows up. Okay. We need to specify. Do we even have a database here? Maybe I don't know what the databases are. So let me maybe try this. Can SQL map try to find out what the database is? Let's see. And while SQL map is thinking about that, we already did manual SQL injections here. So I'm expecting my intrusion detection system to have seen something. All right, here's a web attack. We're already detecting things here, people. So we have web attack returned 200. Which web attack is this one? And there we go. All right. Remember, we were looking at the file etc password. Well, that was flagged. This behavior here, apparently, as you can imagine, of putting these ..// is easily detected. If we look in our security onion, let's let SQL map run. Remember, keep SQL map in your prayers. Hopefully, SQL map finds the database, because we need to find a database here quick. I'm signed into my security onion. We have a file in pwd. In the OP2 rules host intrusion detection system rule sets, by default, there's a file called 0245 web rules here. If I cat that file, can I do this? I bet it's there. Yeah. So there is a rule that is detecting these things here. I just don't know what that looks like. So maybe let's do it this way. Let's go find it. Let's find passwd. Okay, so I guess it's just looking for those. These are the rules that we are looking for websites. In this case, if you are sending Apache logs to your intrusion detection system, these rules here will be there. In this case, attempt to do directory traversal, simple SQL injections, or access to etc directory or binary. So this is how we are getting caught. So these dots, SQL injection, actually these rules are all in one here, including cross-site scripting. All right, let's go down. All right, so for SQL injection, we're using a regex. But there was another one that I saw as well that was actually more interesting as well. These ones are the web server 500 errors that we saw earlier. Oh, we can even get multiple SQL injections from the same source. Let's see. All right, so this was our Etsy password that got caught. Our intrusion detection system is able to tell. And this is coming from the Apache logs that we're sending. And we can see that. Coming back to our SQL map, this is the command that I just ran. SQL map minus U for the URL. We just used ID equals to 1 because it started giving us stuff, right? And we said, oh, we want databases. Level 5, I think that's for speed. I forgot what that stands for. And then I said batch. This is just looking for the database. As you can see, we have DB. We have 4 databases according to it. This is a default information schema database. This is a default MySQL, and this is a default performance schema. The only database that matters is this DB here. All right. So going back to our notes. Found database, DB. All right. Now let's modify our SQL map command. Since now we have a database of DB, we just need to specify that. So minus D for database of DB. Okay. For the table, I'm lazy. So what I try to do is, at first, I don't even go and brute force for the table. I can use SQL map to look for the table. Because the order is, first find the database. Once you find the database, you can dump the tables using this one. Then you can dump everything after you find the tables. But hey, I like to live on the fast lane. So I'll say table is equals to users. If they renamed it, SQL map will not give me the results. Then I'll come back and look for it. But for now, let's dump a table by guessing the name is users. So you can brute force for it if you want. Is this going to work? All right. As you can see, we have lazy people here. Okay, so the command ID was giving us the users here. So we have Jack with this password. This is a very, very careless thing to do. Most people actually have these passwords as hash with salt. So you hash, you salt. You do this, you're living on the fast lane. So we have Jack and all these people. Do we have our user? We found a user called Charlotte. Nope. These are brand new users. Wow, that's interesting. Well, we found a valid user on the system, but that user is not here. So we found admin and that password. So let's see if we can just sign in as admin. Of all those users, of course, admin is the only one that's interesting to me. Didn't work. Okay. Let's go back. Don't save that. That one didn't work either. What's up with this site? Okay, one last place where we can try the logins. Here. And it looks like we actually have email addresses here. And then let's copy the admin password. Okay, so this is not going to work. What to do? All right, so going back here, we had another port 9090. Let's try that. Yes, we trust this site. All right. Admin and the password. No. All right. So I might have to brute force here. But before I brute force, this is a valid user. Charlotte. So what I always do, especially from my OSCP days, is if I found a valid user, what are the chances that that user is an admin? Where is my... You copy that. Bring it back here. This seems to work. Okay. So we go here. All right. So to be honest with you, it took me longer than this. What I did in real time before I did this, I actually took all these passwords, put them in a file, and I brute forced the hell out of that login page using the username Charlotte because I didn't know which one of these. But after I was done, I was like, that was silly of me. I could have just said, hey, let's start with the obvious, the admin password first. Makes sense, right? That's why, at least now, what I would do. So we're able to get in. If you get in here, you notice that we have a terminal all the way at the bottom here. And lucky enough, the terminal work. If you say ID. Hey, Jovic, welcome. I know from the Philippines. That's awesome. Bluetooth? We don't see this one that often. Okay. But as you can see, there's no Docker running here because you have a Docker group if this person was part of a Docker group. But this is a valid Linux user. We have Netcat. Let's see. I'm not feeling too inspired today. Let me work from here. Someone says, let's do it right now to root. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to even get a reverse shell. Why would I bother? Let's go to root right away. Let's be efficient here. Okay, my privilege escalation methodology starts with looking for SUIDs. I always find it that if I can do SUIDs, I'm in business. After SUIDs, if I can't find anything, I look for capabilities. Okay, so here, oh, we have actually exploited this one before, XIM4. If you remember, we actually did an XIM4 SUID privilege escalation on this channel at some point. This can be exploited. I believe it can. Let me look it up. If you look at like this, there's a whole lot of things here. Oh, this is from exploit.db. This is a very specific version. I don't like that. 4.8. Okay. It is possible. Let's look for capabilities, and then if we don't find anything, you go back to that one. Okay, for the capabilities, we have ping, and we have user being old. This one looks interesting. Just like with SUIDs, you can run these things and actually privilege escalate from them. So this one and this one. The old one looks very funny though. It doesn't look like a legitimate application. Old. This looks like someone made it up. So choose between this one, which is a legitimate binary, or this one, which looks a funny looking binary. I go with this one. Let's run it. Okay. So it's Python. Why are we running a Python binary called old? And this reminds me of our last week live stream. I still have PTSD from that. Not cool what happened. Python syntax got me, almost got me. So because of this, I'm not going to mess with Python too much today. What I can do is I can run that. Let's see. Remember last week we were trying to run this? Let's see. So since we are running that as Python, I hope you remember last week, because this is exactly what happened last time, where we had a Python binary and somehow we needed to run it. So this is supposed to give us a bin bash shell. It looks like it does take Python. Our only problem here is it's giving us back Charlotte. So I just replaced the Python command with their old Python. Okay, so what do we do here? Let's modify this. It's running. So maybe what it needs to do is run as root. Can we put here? I think it's set UID of 0. I need to figure out the proper syntax here. But so we're saying, hey, run this, but I would like the user ID of 0. If you remember from Linux, the user ID of 0 is root. So let me look it up quick, make sure that it's the correct syntax here, because you want to make sure that it works. Okay, no, I didn't have it right. Of course, I didn't have it right. It's os dot set UID. Is it 0? Yeah. All right. And let me update my notes here. Semicolon. Is it going to happen again today? No. I'm confident today that Python will not cause us headaches. If it does, so we're running a Python binary, -c import OS. Make sure that you give us the user ID of 0, which is root. All right, we got it this time. Where my ls, that's not the flag. Okay. Okay, few things here. I know a lot of things happened, right? We just got root on our system. We did SQL injections to be able to get in. We did a lot of fun stuff. Now let me show you, since we're already root here. CD. You are going to need a host-based intrusion detection system agent. In this case, is this Wazuh agent. This agent has been working for us. Let's see. Let's see what we did here. So this agent here has been shipping all the Apache logs to our intrusion detection system. So if we go here, let's look at one of these logs here. Okay. So this was our SQL injection, actually. SQL map. You see where it says IDs goes to 1 and a bunch of things here? That was actually SQL map. And the location of the logs was var log apache2 access.log. Okay, let's see other logs that we generated. Now let's give me the last 30 minutes. All right, do we have anything to do with SQL here? I thought for sure. Wow, web attack returned 200. They're all around here. That's interesting. Then we have go buster here and command not allowed. Then an unauthorized user will try to run sudo. If we drill down into this one, I bet it's that command with capabilities that I tried to run. Oh yeah, this is my user, Charlotte. This is coming from var auth log, which we are monitoring as well. All right. If we look at these here, we have our SQL injections lumped in the web attack generic alert. And I'll show you what that looks like in our. So it combines SQL injections with local file inclusion and everything else if it doesn't actually see the proper alert, which is interesting. Let's see. Let's do next, web 500. These are the rules, by the way, that trigger what we are seeing there. So we can see we were getting 500s, 400. Okay, let's look for the word attack. SQL injection. Multiple common web from the same source IP. This one didn't match. I'm just trying to find the one that actually matched so we can break it down for us. Shell shock is even there. Okay, this is the one right here. Attempt to do directory traversal, simple SQL injections, or access to the etc. So, in a way, I'm not happy that they combine these rules together because that's just not cool. That's really not cool. So it's saying, if you look up here, we have a rule ID of 3303, right? This one is saying, hey, if you see a select command or an insert command and followed by from or a where command or union in a URL, give us and say SQL injection attempt. So if this is true, I'm just going to say maybe let's use a real one. I'm going to try to force that rule to fire. Let's use it from here. Instead of that, let's do the ID equals to I'm going to just create a bogus command here. Of course, this didn't work, right? But if it logs, it's telling me it's looking for the select from union. Let's find out if it triggers. That's what the root told me. All right, it will take a minute to index, but let's look at some more of these web attacks so we can see our actual SQL. All right, we got one. Here is our message. If you look closely here, this is the same exact location, and we're running SQL map. So SQL map gets flagged, people. If you actually run SQL map, not only does it get flagged as part of the common web attacks, but also by name. You can see it's right here with a link to sqlmap.org. That's just unfortunate. It even tells us the version that I'm running. I'm running 1.67. I mean, that is really bad. So maybe next time, let's do our own SQL by hand. But if you see here, we have the select commands, the where clause. So here is how SQL get caught. So I had said in the description that we're detecting SQL injections. And sure enough, we are. I just don't like how they're telling us about it. And here's another one. Since SQL map does a lot, all these here are just a bunch of noise. So by you spamming with SQL map, you're generating 600 different types of requests here, which is unfortunate. Oh yeah, every single one of them has this select. That's just unfortunate. But yeah, SQL map, bad idea if people have a host-based intrusion detection system there, because all this noise here, you will be generating that. And the unfortunate part is that all these came from the same source IP address that was attacking. They came from the same server within a very short period of time. So for defenders, this is an easy win. Like, oh, something's definitely happening there. Okay, let's go back and see if I actually triggered something that just said SQL with my funny command. All right, I finally got the magic word. SQL injection attempt. Remember, I just messed with SQL injection right here by creating this bogus command here. The union select, this one doesn't lead to anything, as you can see. I bet you money this is what triggered it. How did I know that I can mess with it here? Right here. In the rule that was here. Rule 3110. So this rule says, this is the rule ID. If you see 3100, which is in this case a web request, it ignores 400 errors, right? If you see that, and in the URL, that's what it says here, you see select, union, and where clauses, any of these, say it's a SQL injection attempt. That's what this rule is saying. It starts up here, and it ends up down here. It just says, hey, this is the MITRE attack framework IDs, like the tactic IDs. You can go and read about them. But really, it's that dumb. So if you have never in your life seen like a host-based intrusion detection rule that matches for SQL, this is exactly what they look like. And they're not that hard to read from what we're doing here. Let's actually go and see if this is the rule that I fired, because I might be talking too fast here. So this one says SQL injection attempt. Drill down into it. We should see our bogus command. It's hello. Oh, trust me, actually, I did not practice this. I just made it up as we were going. Remember this funny looking command here? The union select from users where user ID equals to John. That's the same exact rule that fired. So how did it fire? We're sending var log Apache access to logs, and these logs here are being parsed by our intrusion detection system. And when it gets parsed, it actually sees what we have here. All right, so from here all the way to our intrusion detection system. Let me know if you have any questions, but I find this to be very exciting and fun. I mean, one more thing before we finish. I don't like that this is a level 6 rule. I would like this rule to be a high alert. So level 6, that's low. I think it's 1. Let's change that. It's not advisable to be messing with this file here. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I do. They encourage you to put these rules to your local file, but I like to live on the edge. But before I modify the file, I would do something like this. Copy that file, just in case I make a mistake, to a backup. .back. I don't want to be tracing my steps here. All right. Then let's mess with it. Let's give it a 1. I think that's the. So this Wazuh. I believe that's the restart command. Okay, it's this one. So let's restart the manager. So I just changed the severity of my rule that triggered to give us this alert here. The reason why I'm doing that is because it was a low alert. So I want it to be high. So the severity here was low. I want it to be very high. We'll find out if that works, but that's how you mess with these rules. So instead of just attacking and doing CTF stuff, I think it's also fun to mess with the rules. Okay. So next time we see this alert, if it fires, it should be high. If it doesn't fire on the first try, I'll give up. All right, it will take a minute. Let me know if you have any questions here. I like to answer them as well. Matthew says, what would you recommend doing for system hardening on an offline machine? Definitely for system hardening, I encourage you to maybe have, of course, test your pages for SQL injections. Like in this case, this was a very simple thing to identify. So do your own little internal mini pen test if you may, and make sure that it's updated. In this case, we found out that the passwords were not even hashed. That was a weakness. Let's sort the passwords. Let's hash the passwords as well. Don't keep passwords in plain text. Force, in this case, SSL, we had port 99, which was not even running SSL commands, which is unfortunate. All right, so I'm actually restarting the Wazuh agent here. Access control list. I'm a big fan of access control list. That admin page should not be accessed by everybody. Maybe whitelist a segment of your network instead of everybody on the network should access the admin login page. Maybe a segment, maybe even IP addresses, or maybe users as well. And the brute forcing, I was able to brute force that page, by the way. I didn't show you brute force today. There was no money to be made brute forcing. I just used John for brute forcing. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. The Wazuh agent takes a while. While it's thinking about it, let me look at this one more time. When did we get the 400 error code? Drill down on that. I don't remember this one. All right, let's see. My security onion is thinking about it. So this is how you restart your OSEC agent. The OSEC manager, not agent. Let's go back here. Let's do some other interesting things. If you had your results saved, you can actually just view them from here. If you use SQL map, let's say you cleared your screen, there is always a file for SQL map. In this location. As you can see, it'll actually have a few machines. Like these are machines that I've used SQL map on this channel. But we have this one. It's a directory, so we have one. We should have two files in there because I ran it a couple times. Target.txt, we have a log. Just in case it failed. But in this case, SQL map does keep your results here in a nice to see log file. Okay, our Wazuh agent started. To make sure that everything is working, check the security onion status. I want to make sure that the Wazuh agent and everything is okay. All right, moment of truth. Let's generate our alert again. This time, all All right, I did it a couple of times. It will take a minute to index. Last 5 minutes. If it doesn't trigger, that means that the Wazuh agent didn't like me changing the signature. What is this 400 here? Let's drill down. Oh, look at that. So this is the fake one that I just created. And we got a 400 error, which is fine. Let's look at the other one. Drill down. Okay, so this is confirmation that what I just put in there was accepted by the IDS. But notice that it did not like my my funny rule here. So what I would do, it really didn't like what I changed here. The 245 dash web. Yes, I want it gone. Uh, 45. Return. Restart the agent. Restart the Wazuh module, and we're back to normal. All right, so that was how you can interact with your rules on an intrusion detection system. And that's all I really wanted to share with you tonight. If you have any questions, please let me know right now. This was our nice little diagram with Apache logs. I hope you did learn a little bit. If you are still setting up your own lab environment, please follow along on this channel. I have an entire series on how you can set up your own Security Onion intrusion detection system. I also have some time where I will probably be adding more to our intrusion detection system. In addition to the custom default rules that are there, I'll be showing you like the big stuff on like how we can maybe use Surkata more in this case. So keep up with the live streams every Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'll just wait for one more minute to see if people have any questions. I see people coming from the Philippines. A lot of people are joining nowadays. This is awesome, people. And Magno, thanks for joining. And I think OXRoid and BT have been here since like 3 years ago. We started by just doing CTFs without intrusion detection system. Now we're doing intrusion detection system. Next, you're going to see a lot of evasion traffic here. Like I'm learning a lot on the OSEP path. I've been actually going through the OSEP material from OffSec. I'm done with the videos, and I'll be done with the PDF next month, probably. Oh, Jamaica. That's awesome. Thanks for joining. By the way, look how much noise we generated as well. This was just our Nmap here. And this right here, I think this was SQL map. This was Nmap and GoBuster around the same time. This was SQL map alone. So we generated a ton of traffic today. Awesome. If you missed and if you joined later, we covered a really interesting topic today. Please watch the live stream. Otherwise, thank you for being here. And I hope to see you next week, Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you.